Widespread fatherlessness has been a growing trend seen to be contributing to South Africa's social ills, amongst other things. Statistics show that in 2016, 2.13 million children in the country are fatherless. This has inspired two movers and shakers, Goodin and Tiyiselani Mukhari, to come up with a program aimed at empowering and nurturing those whose fathers have been absent. In a joint partnership, young millennials believe that positive changes in the daily societal experiences can transform the way young men see the world. Well, joining us in studio to talk more about their latest projects are the Need for State of Youth World Conference is life coach, social worker Tiyiselani Mukhari and youth leadership coach Goodin. A very good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, just talk to us briefly about this Rich Learning Mentorship Program for boys.
So Rich Learning was founded sometime last year in October. The idea to start it was drawn from a personal experience. I grew up without a father, not that he was dead, but he was absent. But my father was very loving, but because of his absence, I felt the gap. I struggled, growing up, not having to look up to a father figure. And at some point, I was raised by my stepmother, who was very abusive in the absence of my biological father. And my dad did not know about all of those things. So I grew up until I became the person that I am today. And having still struggled to battle as a young man, So I thought to myself, what if there's many other young men that are going through the same challenges that I underwent as a young man? And that's why we decided to start a Rich Learning Mentorship Program for boys, to try and bridge that gap,
And just talk to us about some of the topics that you cover in this mentorship program for boys.
So our key topics, we cover broken relationships. We also cover absent fathers and parents also, not just fathers. We also cover anger management issues, emotional intelligence, your domestic violence cases, and other social ills that are happening in our society. So it's not just individual problems that are happening with just boys and families. It's also societal problems.
And Larry, did you have a very good father figure growing up, or something similar to what Tiyiselani went through?
I did. I grew up in the United States of America, southern Mississippi. So my father, my grandfather, my uncles, I had a father figure and a male figure in my life. But my journey started at the age of 12 years old when I was incarcerated. Following the wrong crowd, as he mentioned, anger management, not having any self-awareness. And at the age of 12 years old, I was incarcerated in juvenile detention, where I spent a year of my life rehabilitating and basically exploring myself, learning what it was that landed me inside the juvenile detention center and coming up with strategies to make sure that I cope with the anxieties and the depression sustained from that experience.
So actually from the two of yours backgrounds, it's actually possible to have a good father figure and still land up in jail, and have no father figure but still grow up to be an actual decent young man, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
It all depends on your mindset, what you decide to do with the situation, right?
Yeah,
I see you wanted to jump in there. Who wants to speak first? Larry, I'll give the mic to you.
It's interesting you mentioned mindset, and that's the point, that's how our life works. We get an opportunity to really tap into the mindset of young men who are really struggling with identity. And it's our responsibility, and I feel like it's my God-given purpose to help young men see what they're pretending not to know. And having the opportunity to fly and participate in a seminar and serve as the keynote speaker, I really want to send a message not only just to the U.S., but to the continent of Africa, that with unity, with programs like Rich Learning, we can really take young men and young women to the next level, not only in STEM and in technology and innovation, but within themselves, because you have to have an idea of who you are and how you are showing up in the world before you can be a news anchor or a CEO or, you know, an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And Tiyiselani, I mean, where can people actually get to hear Larry speaking? He's just mentioned he's going to be a keynote speaker at one of your seminars. If someone wants information about it, they want to be a part of it, you know, how do they get in touch with you and get more information about what is planned next?
So the event that he's talking about, we've had one already. It was in Braamfontein last Saturday. But he's flying back to the US today, unfortunately. He's going to come back next year. We are planning to host a youth summit next year. I think it's going to be one of the biggest events we've ever held. And we want to sponsor as many young people as we can. We'll try and cater for their fees. Our Facebook page, if people want to get hold of us, is Rich Learning Mentorship. And our contact numbers are 081 505 0046. On Facebook is Lori Goodin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a question that rings in the back of my mind and some of the viewers' mind, is it true that men find it hard to ask for help?
Of course.
It's true.
It's
very
true.
true.
But why is that so? I mean, something as small as asking for directions when you're lost. You'd rather just drive around the town for half an hour trying to figure out where you are than just ask somebody where to go. Where does this come from?
It comes with pride, you know. I must say a lot of us young men have pride, and that's why it's not easy for us to cry when we have problems, because we think we'll be judged as weak. And we use those frustrations, because when you bottle them, they become explosive when they need to come out. So that's why we feel like when we ask for assistance, for directions or whatever, it's like we are exposing our vulnerability. And that's the message that we want to spread to the young people, that it's okay to be vulnerable, but what do you do about it? You know, you need to look at it from a positive side to say, how can I convert this into my strength?
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
And I mean, if I have, whether it's a father, an uncle, a son, a nephew, a brother, any male friend or relative who I might have noticed is going through something, whether it's depression or even alcoholism or battling with an addiction, how do I approach them as a female friend, as a female member of the family, in a way that will help them reach out or open up about what they're going through without making them feel like, you know, their pride or ego is being dented?
I think the number one answer to that question is be willing to be vulnerable. You know, meet that particular student or that young man or young lady where they are in life, and leave judgment at the door. You know, as he mentioned, with authenticity and vulnerability, they carry this stereotype of weakness when it comes to the male figure. And I think eliminating the stereotype around vulnerability and around authenticity will create an abundance of opportunity for young men to not only connect with themselves, but be able to receive love from women, being able to respect women, eliminating domestic violence. Because when you have love within, you radiate it out and you attract who you are on the inside.
And do you find that maybe government is not doing enough? If I just speak for South Africa as an example, there's always a program every single month happening for the girl child, you know, the girl student, the girl this, the girl that. But what about the boys? Don't you think we'll get to a point where we'll wake up and find that the boys are, you know, really doing much, much worse than the girls?
Yeah. That's also one of the reasons why we decided to come up with Rich Learning, because we saw this gap. And we feel if government is going to continue to have programs that are aimed at empowering and protecting a girl child and women, but nothing is being said about a man who's actually the one who is seen as a perpetrator to these issues, then we'll always have such a gap and these challenges. And so that's what Rich Learning is there for, to bridge that gap. And we also intending to do dialogues or bring women and men together and young girls, because at some point we need to come together and talk about these issues. Men need to know what it feels like to be raped and to be abused, and what it does to their emotions. Yeah? So that's the whole idea. That's why we are aiming to have Rich Learning as a global institution to reach as many lives as possible out there.
Well, thank you so much. I do wish you all the best with the seminars, with the trips, the safe flight back to the United States, and we'll look forward to hearing more of your feats as a Rich Learning Institute there. Thank you so much. It is time now to leave you with the thought of the day. We can't leave you without it. Today's thought is by Robert F. Kennedy. Robert says, only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. That is the thought of the day.